It's very easy in this day and age, especially on the line, we'll say, to get stuck in this kind of headspace of, I need to do this optimally, I need to do this perfectly, I need to do this. No, you don't. Your optimal might be different to my optimal, but it is really key to focus on the fact that you've got to enjoy what you're doing. If you aren't happy and you aren't enjoying what you're doing and you're sacrificing too much of your life to achieve something that you don't even know you want to achieve, is it worth it? Here we are, back in business, start of a new week and I'm feeling bloody freezing. Pondering the other day, I say the other day, it was actually yesterday, I was thinking, you know what, I've done a lot of like workout related videos recently where I've kind of analysed technique, analysed movements, analysed workouts themselves, which is great, which is fantastic because that's obviously a very important part of making progress is ensuring you're doing a good workout and ensuring you're working out efficiently. But I feel like I've also neglected some of the other areas around making progress, so not necessarily just the workouts themselves, but partly expectations, partly the nutrition side of things, so just basic information about potentially calorie surpluses, maybe a bit of protein intake, things along those lines. So, you know, we're going to cover that today. And that's actually kind of stemmed on by this video by GainsByBrains, in which he speaks about how I grow my glutes without gaining body fat anywhere else. Although the workout itself featured is not a glute workout, it's actually an upper body workout, the information surrounding gaining weight and gaining muscle is quite an important one, and one that I feel like I maybe haven't touched on enough recently. This video actually kind of triggered that conversation and triggered that thought process. So that's basically what we're going to do today. But before we do so, you know what must be done. At any point throughout this entire video, if you decide you either like the video or maybe, like I said, even learn something from the video, then please let me know you like the video by liking the video, and maybe even by tickling the red button down below to subscribe to the channel, even though I don't know if the button's red anymore. It might be white, I'm unsure. And also by tickling the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, then please do drop it down below in the comment section for comment question of the week, and I shall do so. The festive headpiece went down a treat last week, and like I said, until Christmas, every video. But luckily it didn't have an annoying bell pinging in my ears, which was, although kind of funny, I did hear it throughout the video and I was kind of like, I noticed that, and I know some of you noticed it too.
So in case you didn't know, I've started a gaining phase. So I'm currently at week 3 and I'm planning it to be 12 weeks, and that is because the program that I'm following is 12 weeks. I've been loving it so much already that I might add another 12 weeks after.
A gaining phase really just does refer to a training period in which you're looking to gain muscle mass. So that could be like what people would call like a bulking period, maybe a massing period, something along those lines. But it's a period of training which you're looking to kind of gain muscle mass or potentially optimize how much muscle mass you're building during a certain period. And in all honesty, this is personal preference, there's nothing else beyond that, is I would typically say if you're going to go through like a gaining phase, I would say a gaining phase should last at least 4 months. Gaining muscle is quite hard, and you do need to give yourself and your body enough time to gain that muscle, because like I said, it does take a lot of time, and arguably depending on where you are in your training journey, 12 weeks might not be long enough. So if GainsByBrains does actually extend it by another 12 weeks, I think that would be a really good idea, because again, it does push her nearer the kind of 6-month mark, about 5 to 6 months or so, which is nice. Just because you're in a gaining phase doesn't mean you can't go through like mini deficit periods where you do like mini cuts or like mini recomposition periods, things on those lines. But essentially they would typically be quite short, but arguably sometimes aggressive like deficit periods if you want to make sure you're in a surplus or a gaining phase for as long as you are able to be in one, therefore maximizing the amount of muscle you're able to build, which in reality is probably not as much muscle as you would think, because gaining muscle is actually really hard. Maintaining muscle is actually quite easy, but gaining muscle is quite tricky.
I don't just gain weight on my glutes and my legs, because you just can't spot gain, unfortunately. Again,
just like spot reduction of fat, you cannot spot reduce fat, therefore you can't choose where you lose fat. You cannot spot gain fat either, so you cannot choose where you gain fat. You can, to an extent, choose where you gain muscle, because that's essentially going to be dictated by your training program. So for example, if you did like a balanced program, you would gain muscle at a relatively balanced rate. I'm not stating you would gain the same amount of muscle everywhere, that's largely genetic. Comparatively, the balance would be better than if you did, let's say, a lower body only program. You would probably gain a lot more muscle in the lower body than you would the upper body. So to that extent, you can kind of choose somewhat where you gain muscle, but you cannot choose where you gain fat.
Obviously, I try to train as hard as I can so that all the extra energy that I consume will actually have somewhere to go and it will actually be able to grow my muscles. Now that being said, I will gain fat obviously, because you can't have that ratio where everything that you consume will be 100% pure lean mass. That's not how your body works.
Although there is obviously research suggesting that you can gain muscle in a deficit and also gain muscle during a maintenance period where you're kind of eating at maintenance calories. If you want to kind of maximize how much muscle you're building, you will likely experience much better results if you are eating in a slight surplus. And by surplus I mean you're eating slightly more calories than you expend. So you're in a surplus of energy, like a surplus of calories. Although muscle gain is, like I said, possible in all of those phases or states, you are likely going to experience more muscle gain in a surplus. There is only so much muscle you can build. And what I mean by that is a bigger surplus does not mean more muscle mass. Realistically, you want to kind of maximize the amount of muscle mass you can gain whilst minimizing the amount of fat you gain, because as GainsByBrains did state, you cannot just gain muscle, you will gain some fat with it too, especially in a surplus period. But that's absolutely fine, there's nothing wrong with that. Your body needs fat to survive and thrive. Having additional body fat percentage is not a bad thing whatsoever. And if you get to a point where you feel like you aren't necessarily happy with your body where it currently is, something can be done to change that if you want to. But you should never feel like gaining fat is a bad thing. Going back to what I was saying about the limiting how much of a surplus you're in, let's say I eat a 200 calorie surplus versus a 1,000 calorie surplus. The amount of muscle gain within those different surplus states is actually largely going to be very comparable. A small surplus may well be the best route to go down if you're looking at entering a surplus, because again you maximize or optimize the amount of muscle you're gaining whilst minimizing the amount of unnecessary fat you might be gaining, provided your goals align with that. But as I stated, there's nothing wrong with additional fat gain whatsoever, and you should never feel ashamed about it, nor should you ever dread it. Once again, I'm going to be a menace, and once again I'm going to interrupt you from my tolerable content to let you know that again, this video is indeed sponsored by the Ridge wallet, because they thought I was nice, so they sponsored me twice. That rhymes. It's a gift. It's a gift. It blows my mind. It's a gift. As I've said before, they sent me this very funky wallet with all my bits and bobs in it, which I'm not going to show you in case somebody steals my information to find out how underwhelmingly boring my life is. And again, they also sent me not only the wallet, but the key case as well, which still only has one key in it because I don't live a very exciting life and only have one key, unfortunately. Essentially, what it is a key case for obviously for your keys, and a wallet for you to put your cards, your cash, and all your bits and bobs on, because obviously cash comes back here, but no one really uses cash anymore, but it's cool to have. It's very small, it's very stylish, and it's also very fashionable, which is convenient considering I'm probably one of the least fashionable people you will ever meet. They're actually running a 40% offer all the way until the 22nd of December. So if you fancy saving yourself some dollar, head over to ridge.com/TFNL to do just that, because obviously, like I said, Christmas is around the corner. People are getting stuff for people that they care about. People are getting stuff for people they don't really care about through Secret Santas. Not saying you should Secret Santa somebody one of these, but it depends how spicy you're feeling. If you do want to save yourself 40% before the 22nd of December, then please do consider going to ridge.com/TFNL to do just that. Thank you to the Ridge wallet for sponsoring this video, but now I shall let you go back to learning some stuff about some things.
You put in a lot of effort every single day, every single session, and you won't get the results short term. The results only come if you stay consistent and put in the work, even though you don't see the outcome just yet.
Yeah, a very fair point. I kind of preach this all the time, that you could run the best program in the world, the most optimal movements, whatever it may be, but if you can't remain consistent with it, it's probably not the best program for you. If you had the best program but you only train once every month, or have a program that maybe isn't quite as optimal, but you genuinely enjoy it and you want to train following that program multiple times a week, you're probably going to experience much better results training less optimally but more consistently. It's very easy in this day and age, especially on the line, we'll say, to get stuck in this kind of headspace of I need to do this optimally, I need to do this perfectly, I need to do this. No, you don't. Your optimal might be different to my optimal, but it is really key to focus on the fact that you've got to enjoy what you're doing. If you aren't happy and you aren't enjoying what you're doing and you're sacrificing too much of your life to achieve something that you don't even know you want to achieve, is it worth it? Fitness is meant to enhance your life, not hinder it. If you're dreading going to the gym, or you're not sticking to it because you just can't be bothered because you just don't enjoy what you're doing, you got to ask yourself, does something need to change? This is meant to build you up. This is meant to help you achieve the goals you want to achieve, not just physically, but emotionally, socially, mentally as well. This is meant to help drive you forward in your life and on that journey in all different facets, not just within the gym. Happiness is key, and you can't forget that. A little quick tricep tip here, and I'll throw in a bit of workout knowledge as well. So although the rope pushdown is a fine variation, it's good, I like it, I'm a big fan of using two ropes. ropes, because this essentially allows you to kind of flare your elbows about 30 degrees using like a double rope or maybe a crossbody extension, which will better align the long head with its origin in the scapula, therefore making it a bit better for that long head portion of the triceps. Not saying that the normal rope pushdown is bad, I'm just saying that it could be even better if you added another rope. And also, I actually mentioned this in a recent YouTube shorts I did, and on the old TikTok and Instagram as well, where I spoke about that crossbody tricep extension. Instead of one arm, you're doing 2 arms with a double rope. I also mentioned this in the growth guide arm video, which I did last week, I believe. It's in a lot of places. Just know that you can certainly flare the elbows about 30 degrees or so if you want to, and get a bit more range of motion as well if you want to make it even better and a bit spicier.
You guys were asking how to make sure that you get enough protein in, because I know protein sometimes is hard to get enough of it in.
Protein's a big one, and this is something I haven't really spoken about massively on the channel before, but if you are looking at kind of building muscle, and also just from a health perspective as well, protein is very important. So protein and fats are the 2 macronutrients you actually need to survive. You can live without carbs, although probably not ideal, but you can live without carbs, and you can live without alcohol, because alcohol is actually technically a macronutrient. Protein is obviously seen as the building block of muscle. Protein has a lot of other functions in the body from a health perspective, but let's look at the muscle gaining side of things. How much protein should you eat? Again, in an ideal world, I would typically go to roughly, if you're, like I said, building muscle is the priority here, roughly about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. But that's very dependent on factors. That could be dependent on body fat percentage, that could be dependent on what your goals are, that could be dependent on where you are in your training career, so many different things. But that's just a standard I will always hope to achieve. But if you don't achieve that, it's not the end of the world. At the end of the day, protein is very hard to hit for a lot of people. There's evidence suggesting you could get away with less than that. There's evidence suggesting you may benefit from eating more than that. There's evidence suggesting a lot of things. But realistically, I just kind of go for the middle. It's a safe bet. I'd rather have too much than too little. I shoot for 1 gram per pound of body weight, but you don't need to. When it comes to getting protein in, there are so many different sources. Obviously, you've got your meat sources, so fish, red meat, chicken, etc., etc. But coming away from the meat sources and thinking about other alternatives, because a lot of people watching my channel may not consume meat as part of their diet, which I completely respect and understand. You could look at lentils, fantastic source of protein. Tofu, surprisingly, is not bad. You can make it taste pretty good if you spice it up a bit. You've also got things like beans. Beans are a fantastic source of protein, also quite a good source of fiber as well. And also, surprisingly, pasta. Pasta has a lot more protein in it than a lot of people might think. There is an argument to present that due to the nature of the protein source, it might not be a complete protein, and by that I mean it might not be a protein that contains all of the essential amino acids. For most people, that's not make or break, and I think at the end of the day, it still has protein in it, and that's pretty important. You have some alternatives. You don't just have to consume meat. And you know what? I'm curious. What are your favorite protein sources? I'd love to know, so please let me know in the comment section below, and maybe you can kind of help each other out by suggesting different protein sources other people may not have thought of, or I may not have mentioned. As a whole, I thought this was a good video. I know it's a bit different. I just wanted to kind of take a bit of emphasis away from the workout side of things itself and put a bit more emphasis on the things surrounding the workout that could benefit not only the working out, but benefit you when it comes to achieving your goals. So yeah, I like this. I like this video from GainsByBrains. I think it's got some good information in there. Bit surprising that glute titled video was an upper body workout, but I think the contents of the video was actually largely what she was saying rather than what we were seeing. So no, I respect that. I think it's good. But now we're quickly going to crack on with comment question of the week. I've been doing Caroline's programs religiously for the past 1.5 years or so, and I love it, and I'm in the best shape of my life. Since I'm very limited to increasing the weights, etc. at home, I'm wondering if I'm still able to get any hypertrophy benefits, or is it just remaining the muscles and physique I already have at this point? Love your content. You know, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Increasing the weights is not the only means of progressively overloading. Another one you can do is increase the number of reps. So if you're doing 10 reps with your heaviest dumbbells at the moment, do 11, and then do 12. And then once you could do that, you could also maybe think about increasing volume, although volume is not technically a means of progressive overload. Progressive overload largely falls into weight and reps. There are things like volume overload. You can make the movement harder by adding pauses to it. You can add difficulty elsewhere to then actually bring down the number of reps you're performing to then be able to almost progressively overload again. So there are a lot of options beyond just increasing the weights. Or maybe even add a band to the weights. Wrap a band around the dumbbells and behind you when you're doing a chest press. You've got a banded dumbbell chest press, and immediately you've actually added weight and resistance to the movement. That is it. That is the video. Like I said at the start of the video, if you like the video, then please let me know you like the video by liking the video. If you haven't already, please do consider clicking the red button down below to subscribe to the channel, and maybe even the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you too have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, then please do consider dropping it down below in the comment section for comment question of the week, and I shall do so. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating my very quiet and half out of frame headpiece today, and thank you for tolerating the video.